We're having a good day. Today we got two stories that are pretty interesting and I think you will enjoy them. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's just jump right into it. The first one, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Aiden. And by the way, you can submit stories of your own to my Instagram or Twitter to submit them to my DMs. And also please be following me on there. And so anyways, this all started when Aiden was in class and it was a class project. And these class projects were randomized, meaning that Aiden couldn't choose who was in his class project. And, when this happens to me, I don't really think that much about it. A lot of times it's just an opportunity to either meet someone new, but there's always that time where, there's some people in your class that will not be doing the adequate amount of work. You just know for a fact that, like, if I'm put in a group with this person, I'm going to be having to carry all the slack for the group. And there's just really not a lot that you can do about it. Well, in Aiden's class, there's this kid who we're just going to call the spoiled kid for the sake of simplicity. And, the spoiled kid in this situation, he was just kind of known as the kid who just really never did anything and always somehow got away with it. Everyone just kind of assumed that, he paid someone to do his homework and paid someone to do all of his projects. And, on tests, he probably just didn't do that well, but since, he handed in all the homework and assignments with good quality, his grade was okay. Was the teacher probably suspicious? Yeah, probably, but it probably wasn't enough for him to actually do anything about it. So Aiden was just sitting there, and he was really hoping when the teacher was about to read out the randomized group names that, okay, life will be okay if I'm not put in a group with this spoiled kid. And sure enough, the teacher read out the names, and Aiden and a few other people were in a group with this spoiled kid. And this was a 3-week-long project, meaning it was a very big and a very substantial project. And was definitely not one that, you could do by yourself if, like, all three of your group members were slacking. So right away they got to it, and, Aiden and his, the other two people in his group, besides the spoiled kid, actually were pretty good about, divvying up the work and trying to get it done. And the spoiled kid always acted as if, he was along with it, he understood, he was going to do it, and he just never did it. And 2 weeks go by. We're going to skip ahead 2 weeks. So 2 whole weeks go by, and the spoiled kid has not done anything. And every single time he's like, oh, I'm getting to it. Oh, I'm getting to it. Oh, I'll do it. And after 2 weeks, Aiden just, at their class meeting, because for the project, they did normal stuff in class and they didn't focus on this project in class. They were given 3 weeks to do so out of school. So yeah, I understand why the teacher didn't give them a ton of time in class to do it. But in class, they had like a 5-minute period at the beginning where they would meet up with their groups and they would talk about their project, just anything you need to say to your group members for organization, stuff like that. And Aiden just straight up said, like, man, you're just not doing it. And the thing is, right, the spoiled kid had this kind of facade for a while where he was at least pretending as if, he was going to do the work. And at this point, he must have just dropped the mask because he said, yeah, I'm not going to do it. What are you guys going to do? This kid straight up had the audacity to say, I'm not going to do it. What are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do about it? And, at this point, they didn't really know what they were going to do about it. And Aiden's like, man, like, that's not fair. This is a big part of our grade. We all need to do something. Like, is it really fair to have us do, like, what we're doing, to do all the work? Like, is it really fair to make us do all the work here? Okay, obviously it wasn't. And the spoiled kid was like, I don't know. You're going to do it, right? And you guys are going to do it either way, even if I help or not. And I'm probably not even smart enough to add anything of value. So maybe me stepping out of it is actually helpful for you guys. And, at this point, this kid was just, the spoiled kid was trying to, like, trick these guys into trying to believe that, oh, what he was doing is the right thing or whatever. But, Aiden was not having it at this point. So after class that day, Aiden goes up to the teacher. He says, hey, can I talk to you after class? And the teacher's like, yeah, sure, what's up? Bell rings, class is out, kids leave, and Aiden, whenever you stay behind to talk to the teacher, you'll probably like sit in your desk, take a really long time to pack up your backpack, maybe tie your shoes. You don't want to go immediately up to the teacher because they'll be like, ooh, why is this kid talking to the teacher? Like, is he in trouble? Or I don't know. That's at least what I do. I'm like, I don't want anyone thinking anything about me in general, but especially then. And, so he waits for the teacher, and, once everyone's packed out or everyone's left the classroom, the teacher's like, hey, Aiden, like, what's up? What do you want to talk about? And Aiden goes on to explain everything that just happened. And the teacher's like, wow, that's really unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that. He said, I definitely can intervene. I definitely can step in and try and help here. He said, however, like, I feel like it would be best if you just continue to try and, get the spoiled kid to do something. It's not the end of the project yet. I understand you guys might feel like you're behind because you're working as 3 people for a project intended for 4. He said, thank you for letting me know. We will keep this kind of like line of communication, open because I really need to know what is actually going on, especially when it comes to the grading process. But for now, all I really ask is just try and get to him, try and make sense for him, because the teacher actually admits, and I don't know if the teacher was supposed to admit this, but the teacher admits to Aiden that, the spoiled kid's grade it's kind of in a limbo period where because this project's pretty big, if the spoiled kid does really bad on this project, then, he might end up being in kind of like the failing or very severe standing in the class, right? And that could mess up a lot of things. He said, I feel like, this kid knows that, that he really needs to do well on this, and that I said in the beginning, I will be checking for individual participation. He said, I don't know. This kid knows that this is kind of his like big ticket to either make it or break it with this assignment. So he said, I just want to hold out. And Aiden can understand that. He definitely can see where the teacher's coming from. And it's not like the teacher said that's too bad. The teacher is probably, it sounds like by this conversation, will issue a punishment if necessary. Just wants to give, the spoiled kid a little bit more time to do the right thing. So anyways, Aiden goes back to his group members, and Aiden doesn't necessarily tell his group members that he told on the kid because he doesn't want to have that kind of reputation of like, oh, because the thing is, the project wasn't over, and he's already like told the teacher. I think that Aiden did like the right thing here because the teacher has the right to know. And also because, Aiden shouldn't have to do the work of 2 people if he's not supposed to, right? And anyways, the week goes on, and more time goes by. And it gets to a point where the teacher on this Thursday, because they're presenting on Friday, the teacher on the Thursday says, all right, guys, I'm going to give you like a slip where you can like say which, I'm going to give you a slip, and I'm going to have you guys write it by yourselves, and please write your names on it, but your teammates will not see it. I want you to honestly give feedback of how much work and what work your teammates have done. I'm trying to grade this on an individual basis. Obviously, if you all give me something good, then you will all get partially a good grade as long as you contributed, stuff like that. And at this point, Henry started to, and the teacher said, and I will be doing that at the end of class, so please don't leave early for any reason. I'll email you if you need to get it for some reason, right? So at this point, not Henry, that's the name of the next guy, the next story. At this point, Aiden is like, okay, here's a good opportunity, because sure enough, the spoiled kid had not done anything, even though his grade was kind of up to it. The thing is, though, I don't think the spoiled kid was aware that, he was going to get such direct feedback from his group mates. And remember, he already basically told them, I'm not doing anything, and there's nothing you can do about it. So at this point, the spoiled kid is starting to get a little bit worried. He's like, oh, shoot, man, like, I am actually going to be outed for this. Like, I'm actually, like, I'm going to be, like, the teacher's going to know, and because all my teammates, they're not going to have my back on this. Very clearly, I've not had their back. He's like, I need to figure out a way quickly. Like, I need to figure this out. So the spoiled kid goes up to Aiden. He's like, hey, buddy. And Aiden's like, hello. Remember, Aiden was kind of, like, put off by the fact that he was like, hey, buddy, because they aren't friends. They really aren't friends. And definitely after that, the spoiled kid went on to say, I'm not doing any of the work and there's nothing you can do about it. They weren't close like that. Nah, not at all. So Aiden was kind of taken aback. He's like, what's up? And in his head, he's like, what do you want from me? Because honestly, that's what it's all about. Like, what do you want from me? You wouldn't talk to me otherwise, and I know that for a fact. And so the spoiled kid goes on to say, so, you know how we're doing those little reviews? Those little, like, performance reviews, and how you're going to rate how much everyone else contributed? And Aiden looked at him, and Aiden knew immediately what, like, he's like, okay, he wants me to fib, but I don't know why, and I don't know how he's going to ask. I mean, he knows why, because he doesn't want to fail, but he doesn't know how he's going to ask exactly. So the spoiled kid kind of, like, looks around him, and then it's like, so, I know I didn't contribute that much. And Aiden looks at him with this kind of look of, that much? Bro, you contributed nothing, and you said so proudly. You proudly declared that you did literally nothing. Like, that was a proud statement from you. And Henry, the spoiled kid goes on to be like, and the grade really does depend. I do need this grade. I'll be honest, guys. So I was wondering, if you wanted to just rate me nicely, and I will just happen to give you this $5 bill. And he takes a $5 bill out of his wallet. And he said, look, I'll give you this $5 bill, and all you got to do is just rate me nicely. Like, that is so easy at this point. You guys have already done all the work. It doesn't help you guys to turn me in. In fact, you'll only be $5 poorer if you don't turn me in. I think this is a great deal for both of us. The thing is, though, the teacher of this class had overheard this entire conversation. And remember, the teacher also had the additional context of what was really going on from Aiden. So since Aiden was sitting in the front of the class, the teacher happened to be close enough. And I think the spoiled kid thought that the teacher was just out of earshot. But it turns out the teacher was just in earshot. So the teacher walks up to them, and he grabs the $5 bill. And he looks at both of them. And he looks at the spoiled kid. He's like, come with me. And the spoiled kid kind of knows he just got caught, but the spoiled kid has no idea about what the teacher's about to do. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment spoiled down below. I just like to see how many people made it this far. If you want to continue supporting the channel and help me out a lot, all you need to do is just keep on watching these videos. Binge watching old videos supports the channel more than you can even imagine. Like, I was pretty sick for the last week. I'm doing great now. Thanks for all your concerns in the comment section. I do read them. But the channel actually did really well thanks to you guys watching old videos. It helped boost them to new people even. We actually had a bit of a view spike when I wasn't posting at all, which is kind of like, maybe I should continue. Maybe that's the strategy, just not posting. Also, if you want to submit stories, Instagram, Twitter, I said that in the beginning, but also if you are a Spotify listener or you like using Spotify, just know that these videos are actually out as podcasts. It is, I think, the first link in the description, or just look up Connor Pugs on Spotify. If you haven't already done so, please rate the podcast 5 stars. I really would appreciate that. With that all being said, leave a like if you haven't already, subscribe with notifications on, and let's get into the rest of the story, and then the second story, which I think is pretty cool too. So the teacher has caught the spoiled kid at this point, and the teacher is like, asked the spoiled kid to come with him. And most people, in this position, of the spoiled kid's position, was probably thinking like, ah, shoot, I just got caught. I'm probably gonna have to go to the front office. He's probably gonna have a private talk with me. But this teacher was on demon time, bro. This teacher was he was just, for some reason, the teacher wanted to make a kind of an example of this kid. So the teacher walks to the front of the class. He's like, I need everyone's attention. And this is where the spoiled kid knows that he messed up. And the teacher goes on to say, I need everyone's attention. So I just overheard a conversation of one student who will not be named. But the thing is, the teacher brought the student up to the front of the class, so it was obvious who it was. That was like the crazy part. A student who will not be named, who offered up $5 to each of his classmates or each of his teammates to say that he did work when he did none of the work. He said, the teacher goes on to say, not only is this lying, to me, which will immediately get you an F, and the kid up there is just like, oh no. He said, but it's also disingenuous to all of you guys, and especially his teammates. I give you group projects so that you guys can create something really cool in a certain amount of time, and it would be much harder if I made these individual projects. I give you teammates so that, you learn to work with people and you can make something really cool in a short amount of time. He said, and it really just irks me when people try and abuse this system. Please note that I will catch on to you. If you try and abuse the system, if you break the rules or anything like that, I will catch on to you. And to all the people doing this fairly and correctly, keep doing what you're doing. That is all. Go back to what you're doing. And at this point, Aiden is just sitting there, just like, it felt a little bad for the spoiled kid. The spoiled kid wasn't being the greatest guy throughout the whole thing. Not even close, but did he really deserve this? I don't know. Tell me in the comment section if you think this was too far, if this was good. And yeah, then they watch as the spoiled kid is walked out of the classroom with the teacher. And Aiden doesn't know exactly what happened to the spoiled kid, but he believes he probably got an F on the assignment, and he probably went to the front office, and who even knows what happened past then. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the next story Henry. So anyways, right, Henry was in a class that had every single week a quiz. And instead of having tests, this was a very unique style. They had no tests except like one final assessment and one midterm. But they had no like unit tests or anything like that. And it was a math class. What they had instead was every single week there would be a quiz on the material. And the teacher, and every single week, it was always pretty hard. So there's like some teachers that give you quizzes that are kind of very much, do you understand basically what's going on? And then there's teachers that give you quizzes that are like, here's the hardest possible example I could find. Solve it or die. I mean, it's either or. There's no in-betweens. And unfortunately, this teacher was definitely more the second category. And for that reason, the quizzes were very difficult. Sure, they had a bit of a curve or whatever, but the quizzes were still extremely difficult. We're going to call the subscriber Henry, by the way. In Henry's class, there's this kid who we're going to call Ben. And, Ben, one week, came up to Henry and says, hey, man, this quiz is hard, right? And Henry's like, yeah, the quizzes are really hard. And Ben's like, what if I was to tell you that I knew exactly what was going to be on the quiz tomorrow? And Henry's like, what are you talking about? And, Ben's like, don't question my methods, but, I know exactly what's on the quiz tomorrow. Normally, I sell this. I sell this information, but a lot of people probably don't trust me. So what I do is, if you want to try it out, I will, give you the service for free for one trial, and then from there we can talk it out. And at this point, Henry was like, whoa, what's going on? Henry was struggling with these quizzes, and he's not going to lie, he was like kind of interested in the help. Henry says for me to tell you guys, don't cheat. Don't buy information like this. First of all, it can go really wrong for you if the person gets busted and your name's on their list, or they just tell on you, because why would they not? There's no code for them not to, So in general, just don't do that. Not just you're going to get in trouble, but, you'll be robbed of your learning. That's the worst thing ever or something. I don't know. Just you'll probably get in trouble and it's not worth it. But anyways, Henry was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm actually kind of curious, like, what are the answers? And this guy, Ben, says, hey, like, I can't tell you them until tomorrow morning. And their class was late at, like, the last class of the day, so knowing the answers by the morning would be soon enough. And Henry was like, can you not tell me them now? And, Ben goes on to say, I can't tell you my methods, but I only know them by, Friday morning. Henry, getting this first one for free, was kind of like, okay, whatever, that's fine. And sure enough, Friday morning came around, and this Ben came up to Henry, and Henry's like, hey, how's it going? And Ben immediately just said, the first question is going to be like a derivative question. It's going to be x cubed, not that hard. The next one is you're going to have to find like area under the curve of this tangent function. So he basically goes on to say every single question that they're going to be asked. And then he said, I also can tell you the answers. The biggest thing was the question, because then you can figure out like how to do the answers beforehand. And, by the time it was over, Ben was like, okay, you'll see today that these were actually the questions. And tomorrow and next week, like, if you want to get these again, all I do is I charge $5. And Henry in his head was like, $5, like, that's going to add up. But then he's like, but this is a huge part of my grade. Maybe it is worth it. So Henry goes in, and sure enough, on the quiz were exactly those questions. And Henry says, like, how did this kid know? Like, how did he know? So the next week comes around, and Ben is like, hey, so do you want to, like, take me up on my offer? And Henry goes like, hey, man, like, I really appreciate it. I just want to continue doing these legit. And, Ben was like, all right, that's fine. Just, where I am if, school's getting a little difficult. And I don't know, maybe you need a bit of a break, or you just need a bit of a grade boost. You know who to come to. And with that, Henry was just so weirded out. He's like, okay, sure, fine. And he was just so curious. How did he know all these answers? The thing is, though, Henry didn't have class with Ben It's just the class he took had the instructor had many periods. I think the instructor actually had like 3 different classes. And months later, Henry was actually not doing so well. He was like, okay, maybe I need to go find Ben. And, he goes to try and find Ben, and he just can't find him anywhere. So he asks a friend, he's like, hey, like, do you know where, like, Ben, and then insert last name is? And his friend's like, dude, you didn't hear? That kid got expelled. And, Henry's like, what? And Henry's or Ben's friend or Henry's friend goes on and say, yeah, like, I'll tell you all about it. So basically what happened was that Ben, like, learned that the teacher made the tests way in advance. And what the teacher would do is by the time her last class at the end of the day, was over, she would leave her tests in a big packet on Thursday night on her desk so that she would remember to make copies of them Friday morning when she came in. She wouldn't have this packet out on her desk normally, but she left it out there just to make sure, just to be like, okay, I need to remember to print these out before it's too late or my class comes in, kind of like to help her remember. So for some reason, Ben either saw this or learned of this, or maybe on purpose or accident, learned that this was the case. So every single day, because like the teachers at the school didn't lock up. It was the staff that came around and locked up. So before the staff locked up or the cleaning person locked up and after the teacher had left, Ben would like await in the bathroom, and then he would go in very quickly and take out his phone and take a photo of all the questions in the quiz. And then the next morning, he'd charge his fee or whatever, and he was making actually a decent amount of money because there's a lot of kids in a lot of these sections. However, running a business, quote unquote, like this, you're eventually going to get caught, because eventually one person who Ben offered this to contacted the teacher and said what was going on. So the teacher, having a suspicion of how Ben was doing it, but wanted to figure out how Ben was doing it, before, cutting him, like trying to get him in trouble, because maybe they don't have enough evidence, or even if they do get Ben in trouble, like they don't want this to happen again. So they actually staked out, and they had a feeling like, okay, I don't keep these records online, so it has to be something with with the piece of paper that I have all the information on. So the teacher did what they always did and waited in the classroom and was recording, had a camera out recording the whole thing. And the teacher apparently waited and saw Ben go in, take a photo, and that was it. The teacher had it on recording. The teacher was able to get 5 or 6 other testimonies of people either using the service or being offered the service. And the people who were using the service, the teacher said, you're a clean slate from here on out if you do help me with this. So yeah, the teacher got, enough evidence and had a whole case against Ben, and Ben didn't even know until it hit him. And then immediately, Ben was just told to go to the front office, shown all the evidence against him, and bam, he was out.